Welcome back, everybody. Here we are with the review of issue 80. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me just start off by swapping out my glasses so I can read better. Atmospheric Assault Lander. So this is the assault lander that the First Order uses. So let's go ahead and go through this real quick. Atmospheric Assault Lander, also known as the AAL or First Order Transport, followed in the footsteps of the Republic gunships that were used to transport clone troops during the Clone Wars. Like most of the First Order's vehicles and starships, the AAL was built in the secrecy of the unknown regions by the military engineers of the Sanar Jameis Army Systems, one of a number of new manufacturers to be established after the signing of the Galactic Concordance. We're going to talk about the line of sight here because it just briefly mentions it, and I thought it was kind of interesting. So as to be able to see the atmospheric assault lander's landing and disembarkation zones clearly, the pilot was positioned atop the craft's hull, standing up in a reinforced chamber containing the flight controls and a viewport. The gunner was similarly elevated, though without external protection, standing on a footplate that could raise or lower the trooper as required. Inside, light was kept low to preserve the unit's night vision and prevent their being night blinded as they rushed out into the battlefield. So that's where the pilot would be. And if you look, it looks very much like a landing craft from World War II. A coldly functional transport with a trapezoid shape, atmospheric assault lander was designed to ferry squads of First Order stormtroopers to a designated location targeted for assault. There, the transport would deliver its complement of troopers before leaving the battlefield, returning when the mission had been completed. Though in many ways a simple and straightforward vehicle, the AAL is nonetheless mercilessly successful in its role, as the unfortunate inhabitants of many worlds have discovered. Stormtrooper transport. The AAL measures about 18 meters in length, but isn't very tall. To enable shock assault from a point of landing, each AAL is equipped with multiple searchlights that can dazzle enemies. Its front section consists entirely of the troop compartment. Each transport can carry 2 squads of First Order stormtroopers, a total of 20 troopers. In the rather cramped compartment, the troopers await their debarkation in a standard 2 abreast formation. The compartment is barely lit during flight and features a broad exit ramp. Set between the troop compartment and the aft section are the small quarters for the pilot and the gunner. A First Order pilot, typically a TIE fighter veteran, steers the AAL from a vantage position that offers maximum visibility of the terrain. If this cabin becomes damaged, the AAL can also be piloted from a backup system inside the ship. Though that does limit the pilot's view, the transport's gunner controls and Sanar Jameis F-0 anti-personnel blaster cannon. The gunner can use a platform to reach a top cover position situated partially outside the AL, but the weapon can also be fired from within the vessel. The aft section of the transport features the reactor, life support, and acceleration compensator, electromagnetic thrust vectoring fins, heat exchanger fins, and 4 SJAS 210 sublight ion engines. Attack mode. An AL is launched from an orbital position towards a planetary surface and a drop zone. Both the pilot and the gunner cooperate to enable a smooth landing, preferably one close enough to the drop zone but still outside the enemy's range. The gunner, who's able to rotate the AL's weapon 240 degrees, also function as a spotter for potential threats during the landing maneuver. As soon as the ramp is lowered, the stormtroopers exit the ramp in pairs and create a perimeter around the vessel until all troops have disembarked. The 2 squads are able to leave the AAL within 30 seconds, and this quick exit allows the ship to retreat and return after the mission has been completed. Jakku Strike. So if you've seen The Force Awakens, you know, you're familiar with this, but as soon as Kylo Ren and the First Order got word of the whereabouts of the legendary traveler and Church of the Force follower Lor San Tekka, the Star Destroyer Finalizer set course for Jakku. 4 atmospheric assault landers were launched from the vast battle cruiser to seize the old ally of the Resistance, who had crucial information on the location of the missing Luke Skywalker. The transports landed in Tanul, one of Jakku's holy villages, which was known to be harboring Lor San Tekka. Some villagers tried to defend themselves, but the brutal strength of the First Order quickly erased any hopes of opposition. San Tekka refused to help the First Order, causing Kylo Ren to slay the old man before ordering the massacre of the rest of the villagers. The carnage complete, the troops returned to the Finalizer in their ALs. Toy Story. The final design of the atmospheric assault lander was reached around October 2014 and was worked on primarily by Doug Chiang, one of the main conceptual artists of the prequels and production designer of Rogue One. The overall design and function harks back to the landing craft that were used to storm the occupied beaches during the Second World War, which, while also taking uh, inspiration in universe from the Clone Wars era Republic dropships. Hasbro turned the assault lander into a miniature ship for their Micro Machines line, while Lego has released the AL as the First Order transport in a set that includes uh, figures of Captain Phasma and 2 flame troopers. The AL's interior and lowering ramp appear in both the first and second teaser trailers of The Force Awakens. There you go. So this one should be fun and interesting. So we've talked the last week or two about snow planets and all that kind of stuff. We've mentioned Ilum. Well, now we're actually going to talk about Ilum. We've also talked about the ship that takes all the Padawans there to their um, get their crystals and all that kind of stuff. So um, let's actually talk about uh, Ilum. The sacred Jedi world of Ilum was situated far beyond the reaches of the Outer Rim territories, in a largely uncharted sector simply designated as 7G. Details of its precise location and instructions on how to reach it had long been a closely guarded secret of the Jedi Order. Ilum was the 5th planet orbiting the sun of Asar and was an ice-blue planet characterized by conditions. Freezing weather conditions. The only heat source to provide respite from the icy conditions were pockets of geothermal activity, but away from these, fierce snowstorms had forged Ilum into a mercilessly cold and mountainous planet with steep hills and perilous cliffs compared to most planets. Days and months on Ilum passed by slowly, with a year on the planet comprising just short of 1,080 66-hour days. So that's a pretty long year. Each day 66 hours, and uh, the year is 1,080 days. Holy smokes. According to ancient Jedi lore, Ilum had been discovered over 22,000 years before the fall of the Republic, when the lone Jedi scout was guided to the world by the Force. The Jedi Order guarded the route to Ilum closely, with the last phase of the journey involving a hyperspace jump near Matelos, rumored only to be possible if performed by a Force-sensitive individual. This exclusivity helped establish Ilum as a sacred Jedi world, though the real reason for the planet's importance to the Order lay within the crystal caves that were deep below the planet's surface. These caves contained an almost limitless amount of kyber crystals, the force-attuned minerals vital to the construction of Jedi lightsabers. Dooku's treachery. This is from Legends, so I don't know how much it's still. I mean, it kind of makes sense, and I'll discuss that here in a minute. As Count Dooku separatists set out on their campaign to damage the Republic and the Jedi Order that served it, the Jedi Temple on Ilum became the target of a concerted attack. Dooku, aware of the sacred world due to his having previously been a member of the Jedi Order, gave coordinates to a group of separatist chameleon saboteur droids, whom he sent to destroy the Jedi Temple there. At the point that the cloaked droids began their work, Jedi Master Luminara Unduli and her then Padawan Barriss Offee were meditating in the depths of the caves beneath the temples. As Barriss built a lightsaber, both Jedi sensed the attackers and did what they could to defend the outpost. But the droids detonated their explosives, burying Luminara and Barriss under tons of rubble. They created a safe pocket around themselves using force and entering a deep, life-preserving meditation awaiting rescue. Far away, Yoda was traveling with Senator Amidala when he sensed the trouble on Ilum. Padme was quick to accept Yoda's request for help, though Yoda had to use a mind trick on her head of security, Captain Typho. On landing on Ilum, Yoda left Padme behind, heading off to rescue his Jedi friends alone. Both he and back at the ship, Padme had to defeat saboteur droids before he was able to free Unduli and Offee. All were safely returned to Coruscant, but the Jedi Order was left without an important part of their shared heritage for some time after the attack, until a secret new outpost with a concealed entrance was built to replace that which was lost. So, yeah, that is Ilum. Seeing the huge value of the caves and the Jedi Order built a temple outpost on the planet, protecting the entrance of the caves, as well as protective. The temple was striking. Its ornate outer hall, in particular, which was situated at the opening of the labyrinthine caves, and featured 4 giant statues of ancient Jedi Masters, as well as pyramids, columns, and obelisks. The temple could only be entered by using the Force. For centuries, it was to this sacred site that young Jedi traveled to perform the rite of passage known as the Gathering, an important part of an initiate's development that ended in their seeking out the Kyber crystal, which they could construct their first lightsaber. Let's talk about end of an era here. One of the last voyages of Jedi initiates traveling to Ilum to perform the Gathering came towards the end of the Clone Wars, when Ahsoka Tano accompanied 6 younglings to the Ice World on board an ancient Jedi cruiser, Crucible. The group was typical of those that had been sent to Ilum for centuries, containing a mixture of species and personalities. One had to overcome overconfidence, while another had to find theirs. Others were plagued by fear or hampered by impatience. Each, in their own way, was put through the trials posed by the crystal caves before returning to the Crucible to begin construction of their lightsabers. Though few guessed they would be the last Jedi to do so. And the reason for that was the end of the Clone Wars. So that's why this part about Dooku being in Legends, and as you're aware, Legends doesn't count anymore. And what happened in the Clone Wars series is what is technically canon, because Dooku would have known where it was because he was a Padawan, he had been a Jedi and all that kind of stuff. But there's nothing other than the old legend stuff that talked about him destroying anything on Ilum. So let's move on. The gatherings. Although a Padawan's master could travel with them to Ilum to personally oversee the construction of a lightsaber, it was more common for a clan of Jedi younglings to make the journey together and perform the gathering independently of their masters. Until late in the Clone Wars, the ancient Jedi training vessel Crucible would ferry younglings and their chaperones, usually an older Jedi, if not a master, to Ilum, whereupon they would begin the trials of the gathering, following a pattern that had remained unchanged for countless generations. The ritual began with a ray of sunlight, melting a massive door made of ice inside the temple, opening up a passageway into the crystal caves. Once inside, the caves would present younglings with their own personalized trials as they searched for their kyber crystal. Often, these required no small physical effort to draw near to the crystal that called to an individual, but could also be more spiritual in nature, with younglings having to face their worst fear or confront a particular weakness. Such things were important lessons for young Jedi, and only when feeling calm and at peace with the Force would a youngling find his or her kyber crystal, sometimes in the most unusual places. The gathering had been an important event in the lives of Jedi for longer than anyone could remember, but like Ilum itself was lost when the Jedi Purge saw so much of the Order, its traditions, and knowledge wiped out. Tartakovsky, I think is how it's spelled, it's pronounced, something like that. Um, Ilum featured in Star Wars Clone Wars, the original animated series detailing the events between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, which aired on Cartoon Network 5 years before the similarly titled Star Wars Clone Wars. The series was developed by Russian-American animator, producer, and director Genndy Tartakovsky, who had received plaudits for his distinctive animation style, as seen in his earlier works Dexter's Laboratory and Samurai Jack. The series was very successful and was among the first online shows to win an Emmy Award. Its popularity led to Dark Horse Comics bringing out a comic series based on his work. So um, that stuff that was in there, and that's why I said it's Legends. The stuff that was in that series, uh, although there was a lot of the same characters and all that kind of stuff, that kind of became null and void when they came out with the different animated series. That's what became canon. So that is the end of issue 80. As mentioned, in issue 81, we'll get some more framework, probably for the bottom or top, the other part of the second mandible. Looks like we're going to get the second piece of the plating and our two of our inserts along with some details. So I'm guessing we're going to work on that, put that on in issue 81, but we'll see. So this marks the end of season 4 of this entire series. Um, and even though I don't label my videos by seasons, I'm pretty much breaking them up by seasons. So this marks the end of season 4. What I plan on doing is I'm going to put together a video and I'm going to upload it as a premiere. So it'll actually stream. And instead of me having to live stream and hope that internet works and all that kind of stuff, basically it'll stream on a scheduled time, and we'll do that on Saturday. The Saturday the 12th, I believe, is what Saturday is. So look for that somewhere around 2 p.m. Central Time, and hopefully you can join me there. I'll be in the chat answering questions and enjoying chat with everybody. So see you then, and next time we'll do issue 81. Take care, everybody, and may the force be with you always.